Malaysia. Jokowi was his student before. So by not wasting further any more time, I would like to present to you our CEO, Mr. KG Lim. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. As usual, your introduction is very lengthy and you carry me too high. Okay, hi everybody. Very good afternoon to all of you who have taken time out today to attend this session that I promised you last month. And I don't know how many of you have invited your downlines or friends to be with us this afternoon, but I hope that you would make the effort to bring your downlines to this kind of session, because I'm touching on things that are very relevant to everyday life and for us in Ventros as we carry out, as we involve ourselves in the healing ministry. Certainly this kind of sessions will add value and increase our dedication to our healing ministry. And today the topic is having hope, bouncing back. This is a follow-up to my last seminar last month. And I pick on this theme of hope, mainly because at this point of time, not just for ourselves, but for the rest of the world, the whole world is in trouble because of the COVID pandemic. And you know as much as I do that this COVID pandemic in the last 1 year has created havoc in the lives of individuals, families, companies, nations worldwide. And a lot of people in the kind of frustrations and in the kind of disappointments over this inability to cope with the pandemic, they really feel so hopeless. They feel as though they are without hope. And I thought that perhaps this series of talks will encourage all of us to see that behind everything, there is still the silver lining that can see us through. So that's why today the topic is having hope and bouncing back. Now, as far as we see in our lives, we all know that we have experienced hardships, setbacks, failures. Now, a great man once said, all kinds of things and situations may happen to us, but whatever happens, remember that we can choose how we respond to what happens. So this topic itself, I hope, will be relevant to all of us and will give us that spark to bounce back from whatever setback that may have befallen us. Okay, this talk today may last for about an hour or slightly more, and there are two segments to my talk today. First part is about having hope, and here I will be touching on some of the points that I mentioned in the talk last month, because I know some of you who are attending today's talk, you may not have the background that will help you to understand what I'm presenting today. So part one, having hope, I will refresh some of the points that I actually mentioned in my talk last month. Part two will be about bouncing back, how we bounce back from a setback, and how bouncing back should make us better people than before. So this is my objective for today. So let's do a little bit of recap on my last seminar. Okay. Now, what was the title of my seminar? Well, I can't see you. I can't ask you to put up your hands. Now, the title of my seminar was In Darkness, I See the Stars. In darkness, I see the stars. Darkness, to me, in my talk, I meant that in the troublous times that come, that we face, in those hardships, in those difficult moments, we truly can see the stars, the potentials in us. We can see the way out that we can actually go through our difficulties. It is in darkness that we can see the stars. So that was the title of my seminar. What was the theme of my seminar then? The theme was the power of hope. The power of hope. Now, we are all human beings. And what characterizes us as human beings and not animals is that human beings are capable of having hope. We can have hope to know that whatever situations that are troubling us today, we have the capability to hope that we can get out of that situation, that life can be better in the future, that the hope in us will drive us to a better tomorrow. That is the power of hope. And what were some of the main points that I mentioned last month? Now, the main point is that hope is the one thing that changes everything. Now, if you take two persons, one is a very hopeful person, one considers no hope, you will automatically know that the person that is most likely to come up again in life is the one that has hope. The one who already feels defeated, that he has no more hope, certainly you can predict that he will be stuck there, he will drown in his misery, and he's not likely to be able to bounce back. So hope is the one thing that changes everything for anybody, for everybody. Now, I also mentioned the difference between an optimist and a hopeful person. That means to say the difference between hope and optimism. Okay, optimism is feeling very positive that you can go through something. Hope is certainly much deeper, much bigger than an optimism. So hope, optimism is psychological, it's of the mind. Whereas hope, the person who is hopeful, he knows that it comes from inside him. It is a spiritual thing. A spiritual thing doesn't mean it's a religious thing. You can be religious without being spiritual. You can be spiritual without being religious. Spiritual here means of the spirit. Of the spirit meaning to say, we know that the human being is made up of body, soul, and spirit. So the spirit part of a person is the deepest part of a person, the innermost core of a person. It is in the spirit of the person that our purpose in life, our values in life, and things like faith, hope, love, these are all in the spirit of a man. So the difference between being optimistic and hopeful is that optimism comes from the mind. We use our mind to think about the solutions. Hope is summoning the spirit inside us to fill us so that we can have our hopes arise, and then giving us new courage, new visions, and stepping up into the future, even though we have had a setback. Now, the next point is optimism focuses on what you think you can do. So it is a very self-centered thing, what you think you can do in that situation. Whereas hope draws us into that realm whereby we think about what God can do in and through us and bring us through that situation. Now, certainly, if you compare your personal power and power that can come from above, you know that the power from above is certainly bigger than the power that comes from your very finite being. So the next point is optimism is a very positive thinking, but it denies reality. For example, if you are right now so broke and the banks are chasing after you, and the car installments are not paid, and you have so many people who are depending on you for a living, and you continue to deny the reality that this is your problem, and you still continue to say, I'm not worried. Tomorrow, I'm going to be able to see a solution to everything. This kind of optimism denies the reality that you are in. But in hope accepts the reality. You accept that, right? Yes, right now, my situation is very difficult. Right now, I know that I am near to the point of bankruptcy. But hope tells me that in this situation, when I put my reliance upon the power from above, I will be able to settle this very difficult situation, and I will be able to go forward when I go through it with faith. So these are the differences between optimism and hope. So certainly you can see that to be hopeful is a higher level of managing life than to be optimistic. And this is my hope that after you have gone through these few talks with me, you will become more hopeful rather than choose to be just optimistic. So what happens when a person loses hope? I always have this to share with people. I say, now, never ever say that you are hopeless, there's no more hope. The worst scenario is to say, now you hope less. Hopeless is really, 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 really bad. Hopeless is still not that bad. Okay, so what happens when we lose hope? What happens? One, we lose our ability to dream for the future. It's a natural thing. People who believe that they have no more hope, they won't be able to dream about a better future. So, never lose hope. You may be very down right now. You may be in a situation that you feel nobody understands, not even God understands. But remember, it is when you feel you are drowning that you must cling on to hope, because hope gives you the ability to rise again, to float in the arena of life. Don't sink in your life. We will lose our ability to dream for the future if we lose hope. That's the first thing. Second thing is that tomorrow's dreams will be replaced by nightmares if you lose hope. If whatever the situation, whether it's a financial situation or it's a relationship situation, whatever the setback, remember that you got to cling on to hope. Hope, hope, be hopeful. Otherwise, your dreams will be replaced by nightmares. And when you continue to be haunted by nightmares, you are so stressed that certainly you are going to go down. You are going to fall sick, and you are going to shorten your life. I sometimes make a joke out of this that, well, actually, we are quite thankful for this group of people who are having nightmares, stressed, and getting sick, and so that we can sell more iron laser. But that's a joke. Okay? We want to be people who have dreams about our future. We don't want to every night wake up because of nightmares. So that's why we must never lose hope. Never lose hope. And thirdly, when we lose hope, despair replaces joy. Now, I often, when I'm interviewing candidates, whether it's for a management position or when I am meeting somebody new, I want to see their face. Whether their face, or the word is countenance, reflects any joy or not. Some people, when you look at their face, you already can tell, because every face tells a story. And if I cannot detect any inner joy in their face, in their eyes, I know that this person is going through a hard time. Or at least this person is hiding some difficulties from me that they don't want me to know. So despair means give up hope, and looking at all the pessimism around, you feel so despondent, you feel so disappointed. That is despair. So when you give up hope, despair will replace joy. You know, joy and happiness are different. Happiness is always a conditional upon what happens outside of you. And when whatever happens outside of you meets with your expectations, you say you're happy. But joy is different. Joy does not depend on the circumstances outside. Joy is an inner thing from your spirit, And no matter how tough no matter how bitter the reality outside is, you can still experience joy in yourself. And this is truly a great way to live, living your life with joy despite of the external circumstances that may be so challenging, so difficult that you feel as though no one else can understand you. So when you give up hope, you lose hope. Next thing is fear replaces faith. Now, for any person to bounce back from a setback, you cannot be dominated by fear. You can't be dominated by fear, because once fear enslaves you, you become helpless. You become paralyzed. So how to free ourselves from fear in situations that overwhelms us? We must have faith. Faith is the antidote of fear. Faith means that you believe that what you hope for will be able to become a reality. Faith is being certain that the hope that we look forward to, though we cannot see now, it can become a reality. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, but we have hope through the faith that enables us to believe. But once the hope is taken away, faith vanishes and it will be replaced by fear. And then anxiety replaces prayer. Anxiety, the tensions in your mind, in your emotions that cause you to think that there is no way out, and you become more pressured and more pressured. The kind of anxiety will replace prayer. You know, prayer is actually a tool for us to use so that we can get out of our circumstances, our situations, that we can obtain power from above to see us through our situations. But the moment we are overcome with anxiety, we will not be able to pray the kind of prayers that brings power for us to overcome. Now, the next thing is insecurity replaces confidence. You become insecure. Why not? Because you are in despair, in fear, in anxiety. So insecurity, it makes you very insecure. You even won't be able to trust yourself. That insecurity replaces your confidence. Now, when you lose your own confidence, you know, the people around you, including your family members, they will know. They will know. They can detect it. They can sense it. And as a leader, remember this, who would want to follow a leader who has lost confidence in himself or herself? So that is why we must never lose hope. We have to cling on to hope, because hope keeps us afloat in the rivers of life. So if we lose hope and all those things happen to us, that's a lousy way to live. That's a lousy way to live. And today, as I speak to you, even though I cannot see you, I know that some of you may have fallen into a trap like this.
allowing yourself to live the kind of lousy way of life. So my objective is that through last month's talk, today's talk, to get you to shift into a mode that makes you hopeful and gets you out of the rut. So I like to talk about the vicious cycle of hopelessness. Okay, first of all, hopelessness starts from discouragement. When you are discouraged, then what happens? You actually reduce your hope level. Every time you are discouraged, your ability to hope drops. You are less hopeful. So that's why, as parents, as leaders, we must be very careful that we don't utter discouragements. We don't pronounce lines on our co-workers. Discouragement is so poisonous. I'm going to talk about it later again. Now, it reduces our hope levels. Every time a discouragement attacks us, our hope level reduces. And when you feel hopeless, what happens? Despair sets in. The kind of frustrations, of disappointment, and bringing you further down into a hopeless state. So that despair will put you in limbo. Limbo means you suddenly feel so trapped. Going forward, you dare not go. Go backward, that's not the solution. So you are trapped. Don't know to go forward or to go backward. To say yes or to say no. To accept it or to reject it. You are in limbo. And it is so difficult to get a person out into a bounce back when the person is caught from discouragement to hopelessness, despair, and in limbo. So when you are in limbo long enough, what happens? You sink and drown. You sink and drown. But like I said, life is created for us in such a way that in the river of life, we must float. We must stay afloat. But hopelessness will pull us down. Our fears will pull us down, and we sink and we drown. The moment we sink and drown, that's when we are even more discouraged. And this is a vicious cycle. If we are trapped like this, and this cycle goes round and round and round, I tell you, there is not going to be a bounce back. It will never happen. And we will become so bitter, so negative, and we become so entrenched in defeat that it is very, very, very difficult to bounce back again. Now, the hope killer, like I said just now, is discouragement. Discouragement. So I really want to pour my heart to all of you, especially if you have young children with you. Sometimes, our children frustrate us. Sometimes our children make us angry and so forth. But in those moments, I like to caution everyone, every parent here, don't let discouraging words come out. You see, words that come out of our mouth, they come out from our heart. Out of pouring of the heart, the mouth speaks. And this is a source of very negative thing for those that the words fall upon, our children, our co-workers, and so forth. Discouragement. Sometimes if we have nothing to say, I don't know what to say, better don't say than to let words come out and hurt and discourage people for life. There is a book, the title is The Power of a Parent's Word. This book is written by one person who, the author, he lived through a childhood whereby his parents, especially his mother, was so discouraging, always uttering discouraging remarks upon her. And what happens was it impacted her, and she grew up in a very negative environment. She grew up very insecure until, of course, one day she discovered how she could get out of the situation. And then she wrote that book, The Power of a Parent's Word. Now, discouragement, you can't escape from it. You can't escape from it. Sometimes, like I said last month, how nice if discouragement was like chicken come back again. But it's not like that. Discouragement, you can't ever escape from it. It will come. And discouragement comes very often, again and again. So what do we do? Now remember, just now I made a statement in my opening statement. I said that it is not what happens to us, those discouragements, those discouraging people, they will be there. But what's important is, how do we respond? How do you respond to the discouragement, to those discouraging people? That is the key. So if we are going to bounce back from our setback, remember, we must choose to respond as positively as we can, with the hope that our positive response is going to change the situation, is going to bring us to bounce back. Now, the third point about discouragement is you can catch it anywhere from those people who are very discouraging. It's like, right now, if you are not careful, you can catch the COVID-19 from the carriers around that you don't even know they are carriers. And they are everywhere, actually. So you can catch it from anywhere. And you can't escape from it. It comes again and again. So remember, the secret is to respond as positively as you can and keeping your hope intact. Now, discouragement sometimes hits you out of nowhere. I remember last month I told you a story how a ship sailing into Japan, one day something happened and dropped from the sky and then hit the ship and sunk the ship. All the sailors were caught by the marine police. They were caught, and the marine police charged them for drunkenness. They must be drunk. Then, of course, the story goes, the Russian authorities sent a note to the Japanese government to say that, this is something that happened. This ship was sailing from one of the ports from Russia. And what happens was there was an airplane that was near the port, and this airplane parked near a farm, near a place where there's a farm with a lot of cows. And one of the cows went astray, and the crew in the plane decided to steal the cow. So they pushed the cow into the plane, closed everything up, and flew off. Now, as they were flying off, this cow got airsick and start to get angry and start to storm and start to destabilize the plane until the pilot and the crew got scared. They panicked. So they thought better release the cow. So when they released the cow came down. And it happened that this cow dropped onto the ship because it's such a heavy cow. It dropped on the ship, caused a big hole, and the ship drowned. So you see, it came out of nowhere. When the sailors explained to the marine police, saying that a cow fell from the sky and it sunk our ship, the marine police told them, "You all are drunk, you all are crazy. How can a cow drop from the sky?" But true, that was indeed what happened. So you see, like discouragement, sometimes it hits you out of nowhere and you get discouraged. But remember, it is not what happens to you that will determine your future. It is how you respond to what happens. That's the determining factor. Now, lastly, discouragement. It is very deadly. Don't you for a moment think as nothing. Discouragement is deadly. It can kill. And I remember telling you this story about a young man. He wrote a book and he went to all the publishers. Every publisher rejected him. For a few years, he was rejected by every single publisher. Nobody wanted to have anything to do with publishing his book. Then he gave up. But his mother took pity on the son. So his mother brought the book to other publishers. And the same thing, she got rejected. Now, so one day, one well-known author, he was chosen to be the new professor in a university. And the mother took this opportunity to go to see the professor and told the professor, the son wrote this book and nobody wants to publish this book. Can he do something to help? So the professor promised that he will read through and see whether he can help. Now, after reading through, the professor told the university publishing division, publish this book and then arrange for the publishing rights to go to the university and arrange for royalty to be paid and so forth. Now, 12 years later, this book won the Pulitzer Prize. Pulitzer Prize is like the Nobel Prize for literary works. So this book won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. So the day came when they had to award the Pulitzer Prize for the author of this book. But this young man couldn't be there. Only his mother was there to receive the award. Why? Because the young man was no more there. He already committed suicide 11 years ago. He didn't know that he will live to see the day when his book would win that prestigious Pulitzer Prize. You see how deadly discouragement is. It killed a young man. So that's why in our life, in whatever capacity that we are in, whether we are in leadership or we are leading a family and so on, remember, if you can't say anything, don't say anything. Because the danger is in moments like when we can't even control ourselves, we may come out with words that hurt, words that discourage, and that can maim a person for life. So how do we lose hope? I have a few points to share with you. How we lose hope. You see, it's so important. We mustn't lose hope. How we lose hope? One, family background that places no emphasis on spiritual values and personal accountability development. Now, as a parent, we have a responsibility over our children. One of the responsibilities is to make sure that this young generation grow up with good spiritual values. Some good spiritual values are what? To have faith, to have love, capable of receiving love and giving love, and to have hope about their future. When a family ignores this kind of spiritual values, when a family places no emphasis on this kind of values, you know, your young generation may grow up on very shaky foundation, and a slight earthquake in their life will cause them to give up hope, to fall and never come up again. It's like that. So they will lose hope. So while you still have time, and when you see your children, remember, see a responsibility to build up their spiritual values and personal accountability, that they must be accountable for the outcomes in their lives, and to ensure that they have good outcomes, they must have good values. That's why value systems, which are very much in the spirit of a person, the value systems will help to raise the hope levels and help them to dream, help them to have a better future. Next point is that we lose hope when we are overwhelmed by repeated failures. You know, when you keep failing and failing and failing, and you don't bother to learn what is the cause of your failure. Most of the time when we fail, we are more concerned who caused this failure to me. That is what we are more concerned with. Who caused it to me, rather than what caused the failure. So when you are overwhelmed by repeated failures and losses and defeats, you will lose hope. You lose hope. Next point is, when you are a victim of prolonged unfair treatment or prejudices or discriminations, we may lose hope. So that is why I encourage Malaysians at this time. Don't lose hope. However, the unfair treatment, the prejudices, the discriminations against you, remember, there is still hope. There is hope for a better Malaysia. There is hope for our children to come, for a brighter Malaysia. If we don't have hope, we will sink and drown in frustration, bitterness. Next, when burnout means cannot cope already, so exhausted, unable to cope with pressures and unrealistic goals, you may lose hope. You may lose hope. So now I come to the part for today's talk. Having hope. Having hope. Now, 4 things hope can do for you. Number 1, hope can liberate you, set you free, release you, liberate you from your past. And this is so important that if we want to bounce back from any setback, we must not live in the past of the setback. We must not be a prisoner of the past. Remember, all the anger, the bitterness, the hatred that you feel brought about that setback, you must bury them, let go, and let hope arise. When hope arises, you will be liberated from your past. You will be liberated from all your frustrations and angers, because when hope arises, what will happen is that you will dare to have new visions. You will dare to have new visions. Now, remember that if you are still trapped in your setback in the past, you will find it ever so difficult to bounce back again. So liberate, get released from your past. How to do that? You must have hope rising up in you. You must have hope that no matter what, I can have a better life. No matter what, my situation is going to improve. I'm going to get stronger. Hope helps you to bounce back. Hope helps you to bounce back. Whatever the setback, we can bounce back. We can get up again if we have hope. That's why afterwards I'm going to share with you 7 points to enable hope to arise and change everything in our life. Third thing is that hope sets you free to dream. When you have hope, you have the courage to dream new dreams. Everything that we see today, whether it is science or technology, everything that we see today is the outcome of people working on their dreams yesterday, in the years past. So we see the outcome of those dreams today. So today, if we have dreams, we will see the outcome of our dreams in the future. Hope sets you free to dream. Don't drown yourself every day just blaming those people for your setback. Don't just drown yourself every day thinking of the setback as though that's the end. No future anymore. Hope sets you free to dream again. Now, lastly, hope, it activates. It is the fuel that makes the world a better place. You see, there are some people, they got so back into alcoholism, they become alcoholic. But when they became free, they got out of their alcoholism, they saw the need to give hope to people who were like them. So they set up an organization, and that organization is called Alcoholics Anonymous, AA. They are all over the world. Because why? They were in those situations, and they knew that people who were in that situation needs hope. And so they use their connections, they use their potentials, everything, resources, everything, to set up something that will benefit people like them. And for example, Alcoholics Anonymous is a worldwide organization. Every year they help hundreds of thousands of people to get over their addiction. It is the fuel that makes the world a better place. You see, today you have a lot of hospitals. Why? Because many years back, some people were concerned that when people living in the outlying areas, they are sick, they cannot get in time to the hospitals in the cities. So they started taking initiative to collect funds, build hospitals to where the people are and help these people. So because of those kind of generosity, they give hope to a lot of people who otherwise may have no hope of seeing tomorrow. Hope is the fuel that makes the world a better place. So what ignites hope? What is it that gives a person hope, that burns hope into a person, that creates hope in a person? You know, the answer is so simple. What ignites hope? Encouragement. Encouragement ignites hope. Every time when we care to encourage a person, the encouragement ignites, burns in them new hope. That is why it's so important. If we say anything to our children, to our downlines, our co-workers, remember, say only the encouraging words. Say only the positive words. Do away with the tendency to have negative words spilling out of your mouth every time you talk. Talk only, share only, speak only the positive words. Speak only those things that can encourage and not try to pull people down. Only then you know that people around you can have their life changed and they have hope and they have a better future when they are encouraged. Now, the encouragement hopefulness relationship goes like this. Hopefulness, to have hope, it starts with getting encouragement. You must be encouraged first. Encouragement will cause hope to arise in a person. That hope arising causes a person to be bold, to dream new dreams. There may have been setbacks, but hope, when it arises, it gives the person the courage to dream. Dream new dreams, have new visions. And when this happens, that person will have positive energy coming out of him. Positive energy because he's got a dream built upon a hope because he was encouraged. Now, when you radiate this kind of positive energy, that you have a dream, you are hopeful, you are very encouraged, this positive energy cannot remain in you alone. It will radiate outwards of you. So what happens when the positive energy flows out of you? It attracts people like you. It will be an attraction to people who are like you with that positive energy, who dares to dream new dreams, who dares to hope and stay encouraged. So when people are attracted to your positive energy, and together this attraction will bring you to another level. You will see that people are very friendly, people are obliging, people are willing to support, to cooperate with you. Now, this support is usually what I call synergistic cooperation. When like attracts like, you will receive the kind of endorsement, the kind of support from like-minded people. And this is the power. This is the power when it is harnessed into the Ventros Healing Ministry. you sometimes wonder, hey, how did this fellow become a gold diamond? How did this fellow become a diamond? It is not by accident. Everyone who can achieve the diamond or the gold diamond, they achieve it, whether knowingly or unknowingly, they achieve it firstly because somebody encouraged them. Then new hope arises in them. No matter whatever the setback before that happened to them in their MLM journey, they feel hopeful again. And they dare to dream new dreams. I remember in the early days, when I first heard of Rebecca's story, I was so taken aback because the hopefulness in her really was so encouraging. When I heard from Mr. Sokabing, when he told me that he has been about 30 over years in MLM, and everywhere he went, he was a leader. He was the top. And I was so glad for him that he's so hopeful, even when he joined Ventros. The same kind of encouragement, the same kind of hopefulness I detected there. That's why he dared to dream. He even dared to tell me which month he's going to be diamond, and he achieved diamond before his committed date. Johnny Kwa said the same thing to me, that he's willing to take up this challenge to build a dream based on the hope that he sees arising through the healing ministry, because he felt so encouraged. And so the kind of positive energy that started flowing attracted people, attracted you into their groups. And out of that attraction, there was synergistic cooperation. There was support. Upline for downline, downline for upline. There was support. Even people who are not members also come forward to support. And because of that support, that synergistic cooperation, what happens? You bounce back from whatever the setback that happened before you joined Ventros. And once the bounce back happens, you know that you are so encouraged, and you can now share your success story with all your downlines. And every night you can sleep so peacefully. Why? Because of the hope that you see, that you now have, that you can now share with other people. So this is the relationship between encouragement and hopefulness. You see, one of our roles in life is that no matter where we are placed there to be an encourager, to encourage people, to give them hope, to give them vision, so that they will go and move around in that cycle of hopefulness. So this, you can say, is the cycle of hopefulness that we can get our people to go on to and change their lives for the better. So be an encourager. I just want to have a few points to make mention here. Firstly, if you want to be an encourager, don't be a fault finder. Don't be a person who every day be chow. Your face looks so angry. Everywhere you go, you want to find fault. This wrong, that not right, this one cannot. You will only exhaust yourself. To be an encourager, don't be a fault finder. Instead, always take time to find out what is right, what is done well, what is done good. Then you encourage that person to let him or her know that you have taken note. He has done this well, he has done that well, he is good in this, and you will find that your atmosphere, whether it's in the family or in the Ventros business, the atmosphere that you are in changes for the better. It becomes a positive atmosphere. Two, Always reaffirm others' good deeds and strong points. Reaffirm meaning to confirm to them, to let them know. Sometimes they may not even be aware of their strong points, of their good deeds. We tell to them, we reaffirm to them, confirm it to them. This is your good deed. This is your strong point. And we are much blessed because of your good deeds, your strong points. Always make the point that every day, tell somebody, share with somebody, what are their good deeds, what are their strong points. You know, I don't want to make a boast, but I just want to share a very personal thing with you. I have 4 children, and ever since they were 12 years old, I promised them that every year on their birthday, they are going to receive a love letter from their father. And when I write those letters on their birthday to them, I write it on behalf of Daddy and Mommy, Papa and Mommy. And without fail, sometimes I have to stay up until 3, 4 a.m. just to write that letter on this child's birthday. What do I write in the birthday? Well, I only write what are the good things in them, what are the good deeds they have done, and how are they a blessing to their daddy's and mommy's life. Every year, without fail. My eldest daughter is now 44 years old. And from 12 to 44, she has received this number of letters from me. And even though she's living so far apart in Melbourne, I believe that whatever that I have affirmed in her is standing her in good state. And she is proving that in the way she's raising her children. Reaffirm, you know, every year when I sit down to write those letters, one for each of my children, and when they get married, I also include a letter for my sons-in-law, my daughter-in-law, for them as well, that they will receive one letter from me as well. And because it has become a tradition, you know what? It becomes such a bond for the family. So, in other words, if you take upon yourself to be an encourager in somebody's life, and what better way than to be an encourager in your family? You know, one thing, your spouse, whether it's a husband or a wife, he or she needs your encouragement. Don't take things for granted. Don't take things for granted. You know, you can actually mend a lot of broken relationships if you care enough to be more encouraging. Be an encourager. Don't just find fault in other people all the time. Number 3, practice emphatic listening. Now, this may be a new term to you. Listening, you know. Is there any difference between listening and hearing? You will say they are the same. But in the science of communication, listening and hearing are 2 different things. Hearing is using your auditory nerves, your auditory system to receive sound waves and then perhaps to be processed by the brain. This whole thing is hearing. Listening is different. Listening is hearing with an interpretation that is colored by maybe prejudices, covered by perceptions, by experience, and so on. So it is better to be a good listener than to be a good hearer. Listening is what a lot of people are lacking. And if you want to be a good listener, be an emphatic listener. That means to say, you listen For what? You listen for what the speaker is saying, at the same time is not saying. You try to detect from those words what the speaker is trying to tell you or what the speaker is not telling you. Emphatic listening. You see, most of the time when we listen to answer back. Most of the time when people listen, we just want to listen enough so that we can quickly answer back, quickly reply, quickly show that we can also give our point. When you listen just to answer, you cannot be an emphatic listener. If you want to be an encourager, spend a lot of time listening and asking yourself, what is he actually trying to say or not say? And I want to let the diamond directors and the gold diamonds know that once the MCO is lifted, I want to spend time in giving some special trainings to you, the diamond directors and the gold diamonds. In particular, I want to impart to you the skills of emphatic listening. When I was in Indonesia, I was contacted by a number of very big banks. They picked me out from a lot of other trainers to do emphatic listening skills. Because this is part of training that trains a person to be a good listener, effective listener, before you can be a good communicator. So let's pray that the MCO is lifted soon. I can proceed to implement this with the diamond directors and the gold diamonds. Those of you who are rubies, emeralds, what are you waiting for? Come on, fight and get on to the diamond board. Then you can enjoy a lot of facilities that perhaps money can't even buy. 4, if you want to be an encourager, keeping on. Encourage. Everybody you see, you encourage. And when you do so, you will receive a lot of encouragement from people. You encourage, you will be encouraged. You criticize, you will be criticized. And this kind of giving and receiving is a natural law. So keep encouraging, especially towards your family members, your children. Encourage them. You can never tell what a small encouragement can change the destiny of their life in the future. Now, bouncing back. 7 steps to bouncing back, as I promised you. And I call these 7 steps the Magnificent 007. James Bond. Remember, if you like Sean Connery, you must be around my age. Now, I want you to give me time to explain to you step by step. That was the opening for the James Bond film, Dr. No. Some of you weren't born yet at that time. Now, first, let us know that the Magnificent 7, those 7 points, will raise your hope level. They will raise your hope level. And when hope arises, the setbacks, whatever that were troubling you, will be pushed aside. You will dare to have new visions, new dreams. And it is this new visions, new dreams that gives you the ability to have a great bounce back. As against people who consider themselves hopeless,
No more dreams, no more actions, and they just sink and drown in life. So remember, if you are going to bounce back, whatever the setback, remember this magnificent seven. Okay? Now, point number one, take responsibility over your setback. Take responsibility over your setback. You see, the first thing about taking responsibility over your setback is you must accept that you have a situation here. You have a setback here. Now, in psychology, if you want to solve any situation, the first thing that will solve it is acceptance of the situation. In fact, half of your problems are already solved when you are willing to accept that you have a problem. Acceptance. Whether it's an interrelational problem or whether it's a much bigger problem, a financial problem, whatever the problems, the first step in solving the problem is accepting that you have the problem. You have the problem. And when you talk about accepting the problem, you know, like I said just now, who caused the problem is not as important as what is the problem. What is the problem? This is more important. Who is no more important? Because if you are going to be stuck with who caused the problem, yeah, I accept the problem, but it is not me who caused it, it's you. That's stupid fellow, that's stupid. Who is no more the problem? And if you go through life always remembering that fellow, you know what? You can never have joy in your life. You will always be carrying baggages in your life, weighing you down. So acceptance of your setback means you acknowledge, yes, I have a setback. I have just lost millions and I'm near bankruptcy. I won't blame whoever. No complaining, no blaming. I know I have got this problem. This is the acceptance that will cause you to have hope for the bounce back. So once you are able to accept the situation without pointing finger at whoever, then this step is called proactive step. Proactive step means you take responsibility without wanting to point fingers at other people. You want to respond to help yourself to be better in the future, to be proactive. So acceptance gives you proactivity. You know, in Ventros, we are guided by 4 pillars. The pillar number 1 is proactive. To be proactive, meaning to say we must learn to accept responsibility and take responsibility for whatever the problems. Take responsibility so that we truly gain wisdom out of life's experiences. Wisdom don't come when we are having a jolly good time. Wisdom comes when we have to suffer, when we have to go through bad times, when we have to be down at the bottom of the pit. Then we learn, then we rise again. And that experience brings wisdom. Now, this is principle number 1. Take responsibility over your setback. Don't blame other people, don't complain, whine, but just accept that this is the setback. You are taking responsibility and you will learn from the experience. That's number 1. Number 2 is that when you have a setback and you want to bounce back, don't fall into the trap of inertia. Inertia means refusing to change, don't want to move, just remaining there. Don't want to change.
Don't fall into the trap of inertia. A lot of people in a setback, they feel so boucing that they just let go. They don't want to do anything else. They just sit down and let the anger boil in them. Now, a setback doesn't mean everything must come to a stop. A setback doesn't mean everything must come to a standstill. In fact, if a setback causes you to come to a stop, to a standstill, that is the worst thing that can happen because you may never move out of there again. So don't fall into the trap of inertia. It is harder to get into motion, action, when you are already at rest. So if you are talking about bounce back, as soon as you accept that there's a setback, you are proactive, accepting the responsibility, you learn from the experience, get moving again. Because you know that for as long as you have received the encouragement and you have new hope, you have new vision, you have the ability to design, to see a new future, to bounce back. Now, number 3 is you got to raise your expectations. Raise your expectations. Don't, because of a setback, you lower your expectations. It is when you want to bounce back from a setback, you got to raise your expectations. That is very, very important. So that is why I want to put a statement to you. The statement is, in life, you get what you deserve. Right or wrong? I can't hear your answer, but most of you are going to say, yeah, correct. Give yourself a clap. I can't hear you clap, but I want to know that you are clapping. That in life, you get what you deserve. Isn't it right? Okay, unmute and answer me. Isn't that right? In life, you get what you deserve. Right or wrong?
No.
Right?
It's not correct. No.
Some say no. Some say yes. Some say no.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now mute again. Mute again. In life, you don't get what you deserve. You only get what you expect. That's why you must raise your expectations. Remember, you don't get what you deserve. And sometimes we get disappointed. Why I don't deserve, I can't get what I deserve. You get what you expect. If you have not adopted this principle, this paradigm, today is the time you change, that you get from life what you expect, not what you deserve. Raise your expectations. Raise your expectations. Those of you who are just rubies, directors, this is the time. Today is the day. Raise your expectation. You want to be an emerald, then you want to be a diamond, then you want to be a gold diamond. Raise your expectations because you get what you expect. That is number 3. Tell your children as well. Encourage them so that they will raise their expectations. When they have raised their expectations, you know they will get what they expect because the full cycle of that hopefulness will come into play and they will emanate a lot of positive energy, attracting a lot of like-minded friends, and then there will be synergy in their group of friends, and then you find that they overcome a lot of things and they gain wisdom in their life. Number 4, be future focused. If you want to bounce back from a setback, don't keep looking back. Be future focused. Crying over spilled milk is time wasting and unproductive. Don't sit down and cry and cry and cry. He cheated me, all my money is gone, he left me, he abandoned my family, and so forth. Don't keep wasting time unproductively crying over spilled milk. Like I said just now, accept the situation, accept the problem, take responsibility, learn from it, and move on, This is number 4. You can't drive safely if you keep looking at the rear view mirror. You are driving. Instead of focusing on the road in front of you, you keep looking at the rear view mirror. What do you think is going to happen? Accidents might happen, and uncalled for, and then you get a lot of people annoyed at the back of you. Their cars following behind you, because when you're looking back, you can't be going very fast forward, and you slow them down. So be future focused when you want to bounce back from a setback. Don't keep looking back. Number 5, bounce back on your strength. Don't keep thinking that, this setback is because I have so many weaknesses, and these idiots, they take advantage of my weaknesses. That's why I fell. That's why I got cheated. That's why I became like this. If you got to bounce back from a setback, you bounce back on your strength. Do not allow your setback to reduce your self-worth or self-identity. All of us are very unique. We have what makes us worthy. For example, our honesty, our hard work, our integrity, our cooperative spirit, all this add on to add value to us, our self-worth. And we have each one an identity that makes us different from other people. Don't, because of a setback, you reduce your self-worth, reduce your self-identity. Remember, you must bounce back on your strength, that you are a person who has the ability to work hard, ability to face problems, ability to persevere through the problems, ability to pray for a solution. These are your strengths. So bounce back on your strength, not on your weaknesses. Next, let your strength be your capital. You see, capital doesn't always refer to money. Your strengths are your capital. Now, there was one day I was holding a training for a group of bank managers in Indonesia. So I asked them, what are your capitals? What capital do you have to ensure your success tomorrow? They were so confused, because as bankers, capital to them only means money, money, money. Your strength is your capital. Your integrity is your capital. Your dynamism is your capital. All these are your strength, and they are your capital to help you to bounce back. You can bounce back sooner than you think if you bounce back on your strength. Now, next point, number 6, is that you synergize. When you want to bounce back, you must synergize through people leverage. Perhaps people leverage might be something you seldom use in your own communication. But people leverage simply means that you must have this network, a network of people who are supportive of you, of who you are, and who accept you for who you are. No matter how much you have failed, no matter what kind of setback you are undergoing, they still support you, they still receive you, they accept you for who you are. Now, this is the group, the network you build so that at the point when you want to bounce back, this will be people who will come and give the support to you. And this is called synergistic cooperation. The same thing, when they are in a setback and they want to bounce back, certainly you will willingly volunteer to do the same for them, because this is the network of people whereby there is mutual trust. We support each other. And the Ventros Healing Ministry, behind all this, is what we're trying to do. The philosophy to live is to love and to serve is a philosophy that enables us to synergize with like-minded people, to offer hope to people about their health, to offer hope and encouragement to people who need the finances. And so we come together, we synergize, we cooperate. And that's why even in the pandemic, when many companies one by one are closing down, we are still making headway. We are still going up and up. You see, this is all possible because of the synergy through people leverage. Now, maximize your time, your coverage, your productivity through people leverage. You alone, your time, your energy, your coverage is only so little. But if you have a network of downlines, all supporting, all encouraging each other, this kind of synergy will help everyone to come up faster than if they had gone it alone. This is called synergizing through people leverage. And last but not least, I want to say that whatever your setback, if you really want to bounce back, this one principle cannot be ignored. Let go and let God. You see, a lot of times setbacks happen because we think we alone can manage. We think we alone are capable enough. We are so good already. We don't need any other power to help us. And so we go it alone. And we tend to have our ego come up very high every time we achieve something, thinking that it is our own effort. But if you want to be wise, learn to let go and let God. What do I mean by this? You must have faith. This faith connects us to receive help from above. It's a faith, believing. And then what we want to say is we humble ourselves before the one up there and let him take control of us, lead us through this setback, lead us through to achieve that bounce back. You got to have faith. Faith is believing in what we hope for, feeling very certain that even though what we hope for we cannot see it now, our faith tells us is coming soon. It will come true. People with faith, people without faith, you can tell a lot of difference. And people with faith will usually be very hopeful. People with faith, hope will be the people who are capable of sharing their love. Because faith, hope, love always goes together. Always go together. Now, tap into the power of God through the power of prayer. Tap into the power of God. No matter who you imagine God to be, I'm not here trying to change your religion. No matter who you imagine God to be, tap into the power of God through the power of prayer. Be a prayer warrior. Pray until something happens. Push. Push. Pray until something happens. Rebecca and Joseph prayed for 6 years before God opened a door for them through Ventros. And you can see today where they are now. Tap into the power of God through the power of prayer. Be at peace with God, and your bounce back will be that much more secure. You know, a lot of times we may be achieving and the world are thinking, wow, we are such a great guy, but inside, no peace. And when there's no peace with God, your bounce back will always be subjected to more setbacks. So I encourage you today, for whatever setbacks that may have come upon you, and if you really want to bounce back, you remember these 7 principles, the magnificent 007. Okay, now I want to close today's talk. I think I exceeded more than 1 hour. To share with you a great bounce back story of a lady. She's from Medan, Indonesia. Her name is Judith Halim. Judith Halim came from a broken home. When she was just born, the father left them. The father abandoned them, leaving her 2 sisters above her and then her mother to struggle through life. So it was a hard struggle and encountering a lot of difficulties and bitterness in her young days. And so at 20, when she was 20 years old, one guy, businessman from Singapore, went to Indonesia and somehow met with Judith Halim. And he confessed to Judith Halim he loved her and he wants to marry her and he wants to take her to Singapore. So 6 months after knowing this man, she agreed to marry him and went to Singapore, stay with this man. When she went to Singapore, stay with this man, she thought that finally her life's future all are going to change according to what she would like to happen. And she thought the days ahead are going to be, wow, rosy, good, and everything nice. So she left Indonesia for Singapore. New hope, new vision. Wow, exciting. 6 months into stay in Singapore, she got pregnant. And the time came when the baby was born. The baby was born with heart and brain problems. And the doctors told Judith Halim, no way, this baby at the most 3 months will die. No way, because heart, brain problems at the same time. And she was like, what to do? She was like, don't know how to live without this baby. And at this same time, just about 1 year plus into the marriage, the husband told her, I don't think we are suitable for each other. And then he walked away. He abandoned Judith and the baby. At the time, he didn't leave any money, anything to Judith, nothing. Judith was left alone in Singapore with a baby who needs surgery, costs a lot of money, didn't know where to go. So you can't help her. She contemplated suicide. So she went to the 14th floor of where she was staying. She thought the only thing is to jump down and die, because she dare not tell her mother that this is the kind of life that she is now going through. And she wanted to commit suicide. setback. But Judith Halim, she bounced back. She bounced back. It took her many years. At the time, she could not speak English. She could only speak Bahasa Indonesia. She bounced back. She bounced back so miraculously that not only her daughter survived and is today grown up, she was able to rise in her career. In those days when she could only afford one meal a day, she took on a part-time job as a security guard. Then she worked so well that they gave her an opportunity, go and study English. Then they made her into a clerk. And then she became an assistant manager. Then she became a manager. Then she became a general manager. And all the way, Judith fought very hard. Today, Judith has remarried. She married a guy called Jason Ong. Jason Ong was diagnosed with cancer, cannot be healed, but he survived. Today, together, Judy Halim and her husband Jason Ong, they have started a chain of F&B in Singapore, and now they are expanding to overseas, and most of their profits they channel to poor countries for poor people who is without hope. They channel the profits from this F&B business to these groups of people, these poor, hopeless people. Their F&B were voted one of the new businesses and of Singapore, and they even received awards like the best entrepreneur in Singapore. I can't remember the full details, but you can go into the internet. You just click on Judith Halim, or you click Jason Ong. You can see and read their full story. I have not met her personally, but every time I watch this video of her, I will have to cry. I cry because I see a great person whose setback was so big, so heavy, but yet she overcame. She bounced back. And when she shares her story, I'm sure you will cry. So go into the internet, Google, and read her story, hear her story. So I have come to the end of what I'm sharing, and just to let you know, I have lined up the next seminar for you. The title of the seminar is, If Only I Had Been Born Under a Lucky Star. If only I had been born under a lucky star. A lot of us feel so unlucky in life because we were born under an unlucky star. So my next seminar is about if only I had been born under a lucky star. The date, 21st April next month, and 3 p.m. Our GM, Andrew Ling, will publicize this seminar. I just hope that you will take advantage of all these talks and encourage your downlines to attend so that they also can benefit from some of these talks. Now, here right now is my phone number, my email address. I'm available if you really want to bounce back after a setback and you need the power of prayer. I'm available, as I always tell you, that I'm willing to pray for you, pray for your bounce back. your bounce back, your breakthrough, your light at the end of the tunnel is just a prayer away. So contact me. I will pray for you, and that I know that when we pray, life changes. So thank you very much. I love you all, and continue to work very hard in the healing ministry, because this is the ministry that gives hope to many people. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us with this VOV meetings motivation talk by our CEO, Mr. KG Lim. Once again, give him a big hand of applause. And also remember, do give us feedback on this training, so that at least we know what are the feedbacks from you all. And I'm sure that through this motivation talk, definitely it has inspired you all to actually bounce back from whatever setback you are facing now. And we really are sure that you will be able to do that. And of course, do remember the time for the next motivation talk. And at the same time, do always remember to invite more people for this next coming motivation talk. Once again, thank you. And we hope to see you again. Bye-bye. Thank you.